We are going to be looking at a series in biology right now. We don't have time to waste time. Of course, salutations, to anywhere you're participating from. Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Let's look at evolution. Evolution in biology. Now, when we say evolution, what comes to your mind? Evolution is, to me, is a belief that the scientist has, okay, that organisms evolve over time. Organisms, actually, develop gradually, as time goes on. They will move from smaller form, to a more sophisticated, form. Are you with me? So that is what evolution is actually all about. Okay. Now, for scientists or for science, anything we talk about in science actually should have evidence to support it. Are you getting my point? Now, when you say evolution in biology, this is said to be the gradual development in characteristics, or traits of an organism, whether plant or animal, over time. Okay, in which the organism develop from a smaller form into a better form. Okay, so imagine imagine human being considered to be once like an ape or monkeys. Am I communicating? That is as to Zinjanthropus, Kenyapithecis, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapien, and all that. Am I communicating? So here we want to look at evolution proper and know what is talking about. Am I communicating? So under this, we're going to be looking at evidences of evolution. Okay. Now, when you say evidences of evolution, what comes to your mind? We are looking at the facts or those proofs that actually, when you look at them, you say that, human being evolved from this, or human beings were once like this. So what do I mean by that? Take for instance, the first evidence is what we call, in anthropology, or fossil record. Now, when you say fossil record, okay, what comes to your mind? There's such a thing called carbon dating, okay, in science or in chemistry. In carbon dating, you'll be able to use radioactive isotope, okay, to determine how long the age of a substance, the age of a compound, the age of an organism. Am I communicating? So when you look at those that studies anthropology, okay, actually they are called anthropologists. Am I communicating? So the anthropologists, what do? They dig the ground, finds remains of human beings, as case may be, remains of organisms, okay, maybe monkeys, as case may be, and carbon date it. So when they carbon date, as the name implies, you're using a radioactive carbon to date, to capture the date, to capture how long the organism has stayed there. Okay, so if actually an organism stayed there, for instance, in a region where you have human habitat, okay, now human beings are living there, and you carbon date a particular bone you see at that location after being dug out, okay, from that location, from the earth crust. You found out that these organisms, or the organism that has these bones or bone, okay, actually has stayed there for, for years, for eras. Am I communicating? So with that, you can infer that, before now, before human beings begin to stay at this location, that they were once, in form of monkeys. Am I communicating? Of course, this one didn't actually support evolution, in the best way. Okay, so we have another evidence which we call comparative anatomy. Now, under comparative anatomy, when you look at anatomy, we are looking at studying the structures, in function. Anatomy is the study of structures in function. So whenever you are looking at anatomy, okay, you're looking at structures in function. Okay, so when you say comparative anatomy, it is this evidence, okay, that when you compare an organism, okay, a lower organism with that of human, you find out that there are things, they have in common. Take for instance, human being has 4 fingers. I get to my point. The 4 fingers, 5 fingers rather. The 5 fingers, which are the phalanges that human being has, is also possessed by monkeys or ape. Am I communicating? Then the shape of the mandible, okay, the shape of the jawbone for that of monkeys is actually the same shape with that of human beings. Do you see that? So these are the things they see, and they say that we actually evolved over time. Okay, now if you think about much more, you find out that the muscles you have, the muscles that human being has, actually when you check that of the monkeys, the apes, you will see the same muscles in them, which means this is inferring that human beings actually evolved from these species of organisms. Am I communicating? So that's what we're looking at. So for comparative anatomy, when we compare some structures in function of lower organisms that have stayed before now, okay, and of course that are still staying, okay, you find out that those structures are also seen in humans, which are the ones who has undergone encephalization. When you say encephalization in biology, we are talking about the condition of an organism having a developed brain, So the difference between us, okay, and those other lower vertebrates, as case may be, those lower animals, is actually that our brains were encephalized, or we were encephalized. We can reason more than them. We can think more than them. Having a developed brain is actually an evidence that we are the latest evolved species of organisms or animals. Am I communicating? Okay, so another evidence is seen in embryology. Okay, now when you say embryology, as the name implies, when you say embryo has to do with the new offspring formed when the male semen meets the female semen, when the male semen meets the ova. Am I communicating? So the new offspring formed is called embryo. Okay, of course, first of all molar will be formed, then zygote and others. So but once it's been implanted, am I communicating, in the uterus, in the womb, once it's been implanted, it is called what? Embryo. So when you say embryology, you are looking at the study of the development of a fetus. Am I communicating? Into baby till the time of delivery. Okay, now when you say embryology, okay, being cited as an evidence, you found out that, take for instance, the way the fishes, okay, I mean the way a fetus position itself in the womb during embryology or during gestation period or pregnancy period is actually the same way, the fishes, okay, stay when they were in their earlier or baby stage. Am I communicating? So here, you see in the you will see in the in the womb, the baby, taking this shape. Are you getting my point? Now the baby, take this shape, you see, inside the womb. Are you with me? Okay, the baby take this shape inside the womb. So this shape is actually also the shape that fishes actually has when they are in their in their developmental stage. Are you with me? Which means we can infer that we as well evolve from the what, from the fishes, or from the aquatic habitats. And also before then, there is this theory known as a Big Bang theory. Okay, in Big Bang theory, this is a theory that that explains or that suggests that there was a time in nature when there was a big blast, there was a big bursting, okay, or there was a big blasting off of the earth crust. Okay, now when this happened, what happened? There are gases being emitted. Okay, now the combination of these gases, oxygen, hydrogen, gases, combines to begin to form molecules like water. Am I communicating? Then from there, as time goes on, more microorganisms is being formed. Am I communicating? Now, I have to shock you that the scientists also made us to understand that the DNA strand of bacteria actually has the same DNA structure strand with that of a human. Okay, now the DNA of bacteria or bacterium is actually the same with the DNA of human. Am I communicating? So human has the DNA of bacteria. That is to say that if humans have the DNA of bacteria, we can infer that we actually evolved from these bacteria. Am I communicating? Now, of course, bacteria is actually a microorganisms. All right. So, but here, due to the fact that their DNA structure and that of human structure are actually the same, we can infer that, or is an evidence that we evolved biologically, that we evolved. Am I communicating? Good. So, again, when you look at the structure of rats, for instance, take for instance, the same positioning, the same structure to start with, the same structure of the kidneys that human being has, or man has, is also the same structure of kidney, the renal gland that albino western rat, of course, rat has. Am I communicating? So what I'm trying to say, that's why whenever a drug is being produced, okay, our experimental animals are always rats are always our experimental animals. Why is it like that? It's just because of the fact that the same way we digest food, the same way the anything we put in orally, okay, moves on what we call move to the liver for what we call first bypass. Okay, that is the same way it also happens in rats. Am I communicating? The structure of liver in the rat is also the structure of liver in human beings. So if you look at all these things, you find out that you can use this to say that, oh, there was a time you evolved. There was a time you were once like a rat. So at this point in time, the gradual change, the evolution has made you to become much more developed and much more encephalized. Am I communicating? So that's why, the time when you produce drug, you have to first of all test it with albino oyster rat. Whatever killed rat will actually kill a human being. Am I communicating? Then during the testing, we have to bring a certain amount of albino oyster rat that administer the drug to them. Am I communicating? Then if 50% of the rat dies, then automatically the drug is not going to be okay for human beings to be administered to human beings. Am I communicating? So during that time, if the 50% of the albino oyster rat dies, let's say you have 50 albino oyster rats and 25 dies off. Am I communicating? It means that the drug you administered is actually the dose of the drug you administered is actually called the lethal dosage. Am I communicating? Are you getting my point? So the lethal dosage is actually the dose of a drug administered to to a subject and or to a group of similar subjects, and 50% of the subject being administered dies off. Am I communicating? So from here we are going to be looking at theories of evolution.